Okay, so dear students, so in this lecture, I will be talking about the different aspects of the microbial growth. So just to recall, in the previous lectures, I talked about what are the different nutrient requirement, what are the different elements like micronutrients, macronutrients, and different kind of other elements. And then later I talked about the uptake mechanism. So what are the different mechanisms which facilitate the uptake of different kind of nutrients. So now I will be moving towards the next step. So the next step would be the culture techniques. So how these different kind of microbes, they are being cultured in a lab conditions. So if we want to study any kind of microbes, the very first thing that we need to do is isolate and culture them. So culture media, it usually is a solid or liquid preparation. It's used to grow, transport, and store microorganisms. So with the help of these culture media, one can store the microorganisms. Let's say, for example, we can make glycerol stocks. Those glycerol stocks, they can be stored for years at -20 or -80. So if you want to store for longer durations, then definitely we need to make glycerol stocks, and sometimes we can make some powder stocks also. So it depends like what actually we want to do. So in day-to-day conditions, we use solid or liquid media, and even for local transport, let's say we want to transport something from Sivas to Delhi, then also we can use these media. So these media, they can be into petri plates, or they can be into culture flasks, or simply into culture tubes. So now the condition is that this media, it must contain all the nutrients the microorganism requires for growth. For example, it should need micronutrients, macronutrients, different kind of other elements, enzymes, growth regulators. So those kind of things, they have to be there. So they are specialized media, they are essential in the isolation and identification of microorganisms, the testing of antibiotic sensitivity, water and food analysis, industrial microbiology, and other activities. So now there it is quite possible that we can have a media which could be used for identification of a microorganism. Let's say, for instance, we can have a media which is having high acidic content. So only those microorganisms which can tolerate that acidic content, they will grow and they will survive. So those microorganisms, we can say they are acidophiles. They can tolerate high levels of acid. So media can also be specifically designed to enrich for microbes in a sample from nature. So let's say we collect a soil sample or a water sample. Now we would like to grow a specific kind of microbe, a specific kind of bacteria. So in that particular condition, that media, it could be manipulated, the contents could be varied. So by varying the contents, we can enrich, we can facilitate the growth of a particular bacteria, and others we can mask. So the resulting cultures which get after this enrichment are called the enrichment culture, and it can be used to isolate a species of interest for study in the lab. So now culture media, they could be classified, and there are several parameters on which we can classify. So some of the parameters are chemical constituents. So what are the ingredients of those media? Then the physical nature. So what is the appearance of that particular media? And then we can have the function. So what functional aspect is that particular media is supporting. So on the basis of chemical classification or chemical composition, these media can be defined into two types. One is the defined media, another one is the complex media. So defined media is also called synthetic one. So usually in a defined media, we can define what are the different ingredients we can control. However, in a complex media, some of the constituents we can identify, however, we cannot control them. They could be varied. The concentration available could be different. So on the basis of physical nature, the media could be divided into three different types. So we can have liquid, semi-solid, or the solid media. So depending on what kind of microbes are, they could be grown into solid media, or they sometimes need liquid media. Now, on the basis of function, again, we can divide it into a couple of types. So number one is the supportive or a general purpose. So it's a kind of general purpose media where we are not specifying that what is the purpose. We just want to use that particular media to grow, to culture the microbes. Another one, the enrichment. So let's say we take a sample and we want to just identify a couple of bacteria, or let's say a single bacteria into that. So we can have ingredients so that we can do the enrichment of that particular bacteria. Now there's another one which is called the selective and the differential. So selective, we can control what are the different constituents. So on the basis of, we can either have selective or the differential. So we'll talk about this, all these different kind of media in a little bit detail in the coming slides. So let's have a discussion about the chemical and the physical type of culture media. So synthetic or the defined media. So it is a media in which all chemical components are known. So it is one, straight away we can say that we mix different kind of ingredients, different kind of constituents, and make up this particular kind of media. So it can be in a liquid form, which usually called as broth, or solidified by agents such as agar. So it is used to culture usually photolithoautotrophs such as cyanobacteria and the photosynthetic protists. So these kind of media, they are quite useful in those culture of microbes where the molecules or the nutrients which are required for those bacteria could be easily identified. So if we are able to identify, let's say, a set of 15 or 20 different kind of nutrients are required for growth of a particular bacteria, then this kind of media is preferred. So another one of the examples is this BG11 medium, which is used for the culture of cyanobacteria. So in this particular, we can see that what are the different ingredients. So there are about 8 or 9 different ingredients here. So these ingredients could be taken up, and if we take this specific concentration and make this final pH to 7.4, then this is good enough media for the culture of this cyanobacteria. Another one that is for E. coli. So in E. coli, we have this glucose and other phosphate and sulfate source, and the final pH is about 6.8 to 6.7. So these kind of media, which are these kind of constituents which are added to agar, and then they can be made into solid or liquid, and later the culture of these different kind of bacteria can be done. So next one is the complex media. So it is a media that contains some ingredients of unknown chemical composition. So some of the ingredients we already know or we can identify, but not all the ingredients they are identified. So this complex media meets the nutrition requirement of many different microorganisms. So as I told you in the previous slide, that these media, let's say the one which was for E. coli was highly specific for E. coli. But if we have a lot of different ingredients into it, different constituents into it, then obviously that particular media can be used for culture of different microbes or different kind of microorganisms. So usually these kind of media are used where we are not sure what are the nutritional requirements for a specific bacteria. So complex media are used to culture fastidious microbes or microbes with complex nutritional or cultural requirement. So in a way, what we can say is that if the microbes are very specific, they need a different kind of nutrient which has to be there in the media. If they are very, very particular, then this particular kind of media could be used, or even for those microbes where different kind of complex nutrients are required. So at this particular also you can use them. So most of these complex media, they contain undefined components such as peptones, meat extract, and yeast extract. So all of these ingredients, three of these like peptone, meat, and yeast extract, they have some of the identified ingredients and some of the unidentified components as well. Let's say, for example, peptones, they are protein hydrolysates prepared by partial proteolytic digestion of meat, casein, soya meal, gelatin, and other sources. So they serve as a source of carbon, energy, as well as nitrogen. So in this, we have a lot of proteins. We have different kind of growth regulators as well. Since this is derived from meat and soya and all those kind of ingredients, so it is quite possible that they are having a lot of micro as well as macronutrients as well. So in a way, it is a complex mixture. Another example, the beef extract and the yeast extract, they are also very complex as they are made from beef and the brewer's yeast. So in them also, carbon, energy, nitrogen sources, of course they are there, but they also have different kind of vitamins, different kind of micro and macro nutrients, some minerals as well. So in a way, in all these three of different constituents, it is difficult to identify what are the actual ingredients. So that's for the reason they are placed into complex media section. So three of the most commonly used complex media are the nutrient broth, tryptic soy broth, and the McConkey agar. So here you can see that in nutrient broth, we have peptone and the beef extract. And the amount is quite large, it's 5 grams per liter and 3 grams per liter. In the tryptic soy broth, we have this peptone, tryptone, glucose. In McConkey, we have different kind of digested tissues. And also we have a couple of salts. So these, looking at these particular ingredients, so they are derived from either the meat or their milk or from different kind of soya extract. So it is quite possible that there are several different ingredients which are not mentioned in this particular table, like different kind of growth regulators, vitamins, nutrients, micro and macronutrients, they are also present. So solid media used to isolate different microbes from each other to establish a pure culture. So usually liquid media can be used for culture of mixed populations, but when we need pure culture, then definitely solid media is required. So if we talk about the solid media, then agar is the most commonly used solidifying agent. So it is a sulfated polymer composed mainly of D-galactose, 3,6-anhydro-L-galactose, and D-glucuronic acid. So it is usually extracted from the red algae. So agar is most commonly used for the culture of microbes. It is not that this is kind of randomly used. There are several advantages which are associated with the agar. So some of the advantages are that it melts at about 90 degrees centigrade, but once melted, it doesn't harden until it reaches into 45 degrees. Now the advantage is that one can heat it in a water bath and or on a hot plate. So when this is, and also commercially this is available in a powder form. So one can suspend it in water and heat it. So after heating, it becomes liquid. And now once this is liquid, it can easily be poured into different dishes. That's petri dishes, or it can be another kind of culturing vessels. So once poured, now you can leave it at room temperature, and then it will keep on solidifying. So kind of it's easy to manipulate to pour into different vessels, different culture vessels. So, and this agar also, it's kind of, it could be incubated at a wide range of temperatures. So wide range of temperatures means that different kind of microbes, they may be requiring different temperatures. Let's say some microbes, they require 25 to 35 degrees. Some may require 50 to 60 degrees. So this agar, which is stable up to 90 degrees, can easily be incubated at different conditions where it doesn't melt or it won't be degraded. So in a way, it is an excellent hardening agent, and most microorganisms they can easily be cultured. And one of the another advantages is that this is kind of undegradable, or it is quite stable and not degraded by the different microbes which are being grown into. So it kind of provides as a nutrient, as a kind of neutral background where the different microbes can adhere or attach to the surface. So on the basis of functional type of media, we can have general purpose or supportive media. So usually they sustain the growth of many microorganisms. The examples could be tryptic soy broth and the tryptic soy agar. So these are kind of media which are initially used when we are not sure what are the different kind of microbes that we would want to culture or that we would like to identify. So randomly, if we just want to culture all the possible microbes, all the possible microorganisms, then this particular media is usually preferred. So in this kind of media, there are some specialized kind of ingredients that could be used. For example, blood or other special nutrients they can be added which support or which facilitate the growth of some fastidious microbes. So some microbes which are really choosy, they would like to grow only in the presence of blood. So those fastidious microbes, they need to be replenished with blood. So these are, for these media which are fortified with different ingredients such as blood, they are called as the enriched media. Selective media favors the growth of different kind, particular organism. So if we move from the general purpose to selective, then in that selective, we take ingredients in such a way that, let's say, microbe A grows, but microbe B doesn't grow. So in a way, we identify the ingredients or we enrich that particular media with such supplements that only particular bacteria, let's say bacteria A is growing, but the bacteria B doesn't grow. So while salts or dyes, such as basic fuchsin and the crystal violet, they favor the growth of gram-negative bacteria. So these kind of components, while salts and dyes, they can easily be added to agar or the culture media. So they will facilitate the growth of gram-negative and they will inhibit the growth of gram-positive bacteria. Further, these dyes, they doesn't have any kind of toxic or harmful effect on the gram-negative bacteria. So wherever there is a requirement that we only need gram-negative bacteria, these particular kind of ingredients could be added to the culture media. So then comes the differential media. So this differential media distinguish among different group of microbes and even permit tentative identification of microorganism based on their biological characteristics. So if we are having, let's say we have a media where we are able to culture gram positive and another one where we are able to culture gram positive. So gram positive, gram negative. Now both of these classes, they have other lot of thousands of bacteria. So if we are using a differential media, then definitely we are able to identify different microbes even into that. So blood agar is both a differential media and the enriched one also. So enriched why? Because this facilitates the growth of a specific fastidious microbes, and differential we can identify on the basis of blood agar, we can identify that such and such bacteria are only capable of growing in the presence of blood. So usually those which grows in the presence of blood, we call they have hemolytic bacteria. So we can identify between the hemolytic and the non-hemolytic bacteria. So hemolytic bacteria, for example, Streptococci and Staphylococci, they are isolated from the throats. They produce clear zone around their colonies because of the red blood destruction. So if we see that the colonies are growing in the agar plate, it means that this bacteria has already destroyed the RBCs which are present in that particular agar. Now we are able to see a clear zone around that particular colony. Macon ki agar is both differential and selective. So this McConkey contains lactose and neutral red dye. So those bacteria which would catalyze lactose by fermenting it release acidic waste products that make colonies appear pink to red in color. So if we are able to see colonies which are pink or red in color, these are easily distinguished from colonies of bacteria that do not ferment. So this is a typical table where we are seeing different kind of ingredients, the media, their functional type and the mechanism of action. So let's see the first one, the blood agar. So this is called as a enriched as well as a differential type. So blood agar supports the growth of many fastidious bacteria. So only those bacteria which are hemolytic and they are very selective, they grow in the presence of blood agar. So these can be differentiated based on the ability to produce hemolysis, proteins that lyse the red blood cells. So when these particular bacteria are growing on the agar plate, they make a clear zone around themselves. The rest of the plate appears red due to the presence of RBC. However, why this is happening is that they are releasing this hemolysin. So this hemolysin is responsible for the degradation of the red blood cells. So hemolysis appear as a clear zone or greenish halo around the colony because of the different kind of hemolysis, beta and alpha hemolysis. So another example is the eosin methylene blue agar or the EMB agar. So this is selective and differential. So two dyes, eosin Y and methylene blue, they inhibit the growth of gram-positive bacteria. However, they don't affect the growth of gram-negative bacteria. So in a way, when we just want to grow gram-negative bacteria, we can use this particular kind of dye. So they react with the acidic products released by the certain gram-negative bacteria when they use lactose or sucrose as carbon energy source. So colonies of gram-negative bacteria that produce large amount of acidic product have green or metallic green color. So examples could be fecal bacteria such as E. coli. So right away, looking at the color of these particular bacteria, and if we are taking this media, we can see on the basis of color, we can identify that this is E. coli. Another one, McConkey agar, which is selective and differential. So the selective component in McConkey are bile salts and the crystal pocket. So this again inhibits the growth of gram-positive bacteria. And also the presence of lactose and neutral red, which is pH indicator, allows the differentiation of gram-negative bacteria based on the products released when they use lactose as a carbon source. So the colonies are red in color if this particular kind of media is used. So if we are using E. coli, then in this particular media, they'll form red color. Mannitol salt agar. So this is selective and differential. A concentration of 7.5% sodium chloride selects for the growth of staphylococci. Pathogenic staphylococci can be differentiated based on the release of acidic products when they use mannitol as a carbon and energy source. So the acidic products cause pH indicator. So phenol red, which is in the media, initially this is kind of reddish in color and then it turns yellow. So it means that those colonies of Staphylococcus aureus which are able to survive, they will appear yellow in color. So right away from these different kind of media, they are not only facilitating the growth of different kind of bacteria, but they are also facilitating the identification of those bacteria. So now I'll talk about the isolation of pure cultures. So if we look around in the natural habitats, the microorganisms they grow in complex and mixed population with lots of species. So in a way, what I mean to say is that if we take a sample from soil or if we take a sample from water, it is possible that there are hundreds of bacteria. So in those hundreds of bacteria, if we want to do some commercial activity or we want to do some kind of identification or some kind of manipulations in lab, then definitely we need a single strain, a single kind of bacteria. So a pure culture is required. What is a pure culture? So it is a population of cells arising from a single cell. So in a way, this needs to be characterized as an individual species also. So if we are having a mixed population where we have hundreds of bacteria, so from there, if we are able to identify one bacteria, if we are able to pick up a colony of a single bacteria, then of course that bacteria then we can enrich and we can able to identify. So some of the common approaches for obtaining pure culture are streak plate, spread plate and pore plate, and microbial growth on agar surfaces. So let's see these kind of approaches one by one. So the first one is the streak plate. So in this we see we usually have colonies. So what these colonies are, they are macroscopically visible growth or cluster of microorganisms in or on a solid media. So if you look at this particular first picture here, so usually what we do is that there is a inoculum loop, inoculating loop, which is sterilized first, and then this is dipped in a media where the bacteria culture is there. So this loops take up that culture, and then we start touching that particular surface of the agar plate and spread it in the horizontal direction. So after that, where this spreading of the bacteria finishes with the last drop. So we take this particular last drop and start spreading on the another direction. And from this particular, again, we start spreading in the other direction. So in a way, you can see a pattern kind of thing is formed where 2-3 different things are happening. Number one is then said that when we are taking this, streaking the first sector, so the amount of bacteria which were there in this particular sector was quite high. From this first sector, when we are going for the second one, and from second for the third, and from third probably to the fourth one, then we are kind of diluting the bacteria. So in a way, so let's say if we are having 1,000 bacteria, it is quite possible that maybe we just having 5 or 10 bacteria in the sector 4. So you can see this is a typical image after culturing. So here you can see that there are dense lines. So it means that the number of bacteria present in these streaks or in this sector are quite high. And as we are going further down this particular streak area, in this particular sector, the number of microbes, they are decreasing. So here we can see specific colonies which are here. So here all the colonies, they are together, so we cannot identify, but here we can identify the colonies. So now if we want to go for pure culture, we can pick up one colony from this or one of the droplets which are visible. Let's say this red or green one, we can pick from these colonies and inoculate in another flask or in another culture tube, whatever we want to have the amount. So the next method is the spread plate and the pore plate. So spread plate and pore plate, they are both kind of similar techniques where the dilution kind of thing is usually done. So spread plate is usually spreading on the surface of the agar. So what usually is done, that we take a loop, which is a spreader kind of, is a glass spreader. So this particular glass spreader, this is usually sterilized. After sterilization, this takes up the, you can dip it into a bacterial culture and this, place it, what you call as, rub it on the surface of a flask or a plate. So this kind of culture spreads onto the surface of that particular vessel. However, in another one technique, what one do is that this bacterial culture could be mixed. So after mixing, then these colonies, this agar, one can pour it into a plate. So it is kind of on the one, it was onto the surface. However, in this, it is embedded inside the agar plate. So this pore plate technique. So usually in this particular technique, what one is doing the serial dilution. So originally, so one takes a simple tube. So let's say this contains 10 ml, where we have added some bacterial culture. So from this we take 1 ml and 9 ml is the, let's say, the water or the dilution. So from again here we can take 9. So right away from the original sample, so depending how many tubes we are taking, the dilution factor can be there. So we can have dilution up to 10 to minus 4. So from this 1 ml, we can take and pour it on a plate. So in this pour technique, here we can get more, and this is almost 1/10 dilution. So we can get colonies which are really distinctive. So in this distinguished colonies, we can pick up 1 or 2 spots or 1 or 2 colonies, and then we can get the pure cultures. So microbial growth on the agar surfaces. So usually agar surfaces, they are kind of known, they can be used for the identification of different kind of bacteria. So there is usually a variation in the bacterial morphology when it is seen with the naked eyes. So here one can see that we can have this punctiform, circular, filamentous, irregular, or rhizode spindle kind of formation. So these particular glass, these batteries, if you are looking at with the naked eyes, you are able to see different kind of shapes. So this variability in the morphology of the bacterial culture could be used for the identification of different microbes. These different microbes, they grow in different shapes. So microbes, when they are growing together, they are forming different shapes. So in a way that could be used as a method that, okay, this particular bacteria is growing. Later, other parameters, other physicochemical characterization techniques could also be performed. So generally the most rapid cell growth occurs at the colony edge. The reason is that when there is at the edges, the amount of nutrients, the amount of oxygen available is more. So the microbes, they keep on taking the nutrients, the oxygen available, the water available, and they are kind of growing. So in the center, the growth is less. The reason is that there are bacteria which are already aggregated there, and the availability of nutrients is also less. Further, cell autolysis also takes place in the older areas. So, and also there is production of toxins in this particular area. So in a way, we can say that the environmental variation within a colony, and they are the variation in the cells growth. So that leads to the formation of different morphology of the bacterial colonies. So this variation could be used for the identification of different bacteria. So this is all I wanted to share with you in this particular section. So with this, thank you very much for your attention.